It's a selfie stick!
Oh! We're cool! Where's mine?
Hello and welcome, Keyblade Builders, to another episode of Kingdom Hearts BOD BTS. In this episode of the Maker's Diary series, we're going to be looking at how we made the Master's Robes. Yes, those wonderful and complex outfits for wonderful and complex characters. We're going to show you how to turn those complexities into wonderful simplicities. It's a lot easier than you might think. And follow along with us and see if you might learn a few things. Get your sewing machine ready and follow along with us. Me of the past, would you tell us what step number 1 is? Step 1 is concepting. So grab your favorite notebook and pencils and just start drawing. Go from any references that you can find and just have fun with it, you know? Express your inner artiste. Try and make sure you get all those little details, and you can do like little tiny sketches, or you could do like, you know, full-blown actual sketches of your costumes and how it goes. That's exactly right. You can go into as much or as little detail in your sketching process as you want, as long as you know the details of the final product that you want to make. Once you have your sketch, though, you can turn them into patterns! You can either go to your local stores and find patterns that complement your design, or you can look at historical references, look at clothes that you already own, and you can turn those into patterns. Patterns seem a little strange and a little daunting at first, but as long as you size them appropriately to your body, which on purchased patterns are readily available in size charts in the key of the pattern. Otherwise, you can make patterns knowing your measurements, like your shoulder line, your shoulder seam right here, your neckline here, and go from there. Now, once we have these patterns, what do they all go to, me of the past? Now, we're ready for step 2. Patterning! Alright, so I have really just 6 patterns pieces that I'm using for all of this. The hood section, as you can see over here, this is made up of 3 different patterns. There's a front, there is a back, and the hood. Now, some patterns are marked on fold. My tunic, and all 3 pieces that it consists of, have a side marked on fold, which is just a means to save paper. Basically, you take your fabric when you're cutting it out and you fold it. And you put this side marked on fold on top of your fold. That way, you're saving trees' lives. And it just makes for quicker, simpler work, because you can cut 2 sides at once. With your patterns, and when you're starting to cut your fabric and laying everything out, make sure that you cut a left side and a right side. All of these pattern pieces, there's only 3 to make this, but this is to make 1 side. So make sure that you cut twice. And also, fabrics have front and back. Sometimes the front and the back don't really distinguish that much, like on these 2, but other shinier fabrics, etc., they will have a front side and they will have a back side. So make sure you're cutting on the proper side and you're marking on the back, because you don't want your marks to come through. Another part of Maker's Forgiveness comes in step 3, cutting with seam allowance. Now, what's seam allowance, you might ask? Basically, it's the area in which you stitch, which can vary from 1 inch to half an inch or even a quarter, depending on what you want. You can use seam allowance and stitch further out to let out your patterns so that you can have more room to move in or room to make mistakes in. Some patterns have seam allowances included and others don't. Most store-bought patterns do include seam allowance, whereas homemade patterns, you get to choose. Congrats! You're now ready to cut your fabric, but wait! You're ready for step 4. That is edge finishing. You can't just go about using the fabric that you cut willy-nilly because it'll fray. So, to prevent fraying, you finish your edge, which there are a couple different ways you can do it. You could use a serger. It's a specialized machine and not a lot of people have it, but if you have access to one, you definitely can. Or, you can follow this handy-dandy little trick on your sewing machine. One straight stitch and a zigzag stitch. It'll lock those fibers in place and you'll be good to go to use your fabric as long as you want and it won't fray. Let's get to stitching. Alright, now you're ready for step 5, construction. I recommend starting with the tunic because shirts are simple. All you have are your shoulder seams and your underarm seams. On your handy dandy little seam allowance lines, we're just gonna stitch. Start a little way. Back stitch everything, please. Good. Because we have our sleeves as one piece each, the underside of your sleeve, and then attaching it to the physical body. Step, we're going to be setting a sleeve. So, sit out your tunic. Make sure your outside is on the inside and your inside is on the outside. And take your sleeve. Its outside is its outside. And we're going to be matching our edges. So go up through the inside so that you can meet. You'll take the center of the bottom, which is this seam, and this seam, and you'll match them up. And make sure that you open up both seams so you have a flat edge. Now you can pin along the side, and I usually will pin to about halfway. So we're going to set the bottom first. Since you have a little space to work with on the inside of your sleeve, take your kit off. That way, you can snug that sleeve right around here. Speaking of, let's get to stitch. Next up, we take our marked center and our shoulder seam and we line them up. Get that nice right along the line. Take a pin and set the center on one side of the seam. Take another, set the other side. Now, with the center pinned, you'll notice that you have all this extra fabric here. Now that's because on this pattern and many others, the arm's eye, this is the eye hole that your arm goes through. Arm's eye. On this, many sleeve patterns, the sleeve itself will have a larger measurement for your arm's eye than your actual kind of shoulder of your body. Now the reason for that is so that you can ease it by making tiny little darts in your fabric. Speaking of tiny little darts, let's go ahead and do one. So I'm just going to take it, I'm going to make a little tiny fold. A little tiny fold. Right there. And then I will take it and I shall pin it. And that already makes the rest of this so much more manageable. So I'm going to go through the rest of it. Now that our arm's eye is all pinned up, let's go ahead and stitch. And now for a look at the finished tunic and robe, I will send it over to me of the farther future. Well, that about wraps up this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you've learned something along the way about what it takes to put a costume together. You can take all of these steps in this video and apply them to any costume that you want to make. Have fun, be creative. Make mistakes along the way. It's how we learn. Anyway, like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that little bell for notifications. Our next video in the Maker's Diary series is going to be all about props. Making, modifying, and purchasing props so that you have everything you need for your productions. Alrighty, see you later, Keybladers! Hello and welcome! Ah! I can't get it right! Now today, I missed the catchphrase! We're starting again. Oh, don't fall, bitch. Okay, there's hair. ADHD sucks! Hi! I don't like any of these takes at all! Oh my god. I'm gonna have a fun time editing this later. And look at that, our tunic's done. So thanks for coming on this episode. Thanks for coming. I swear, this is like ADHD incarnation. Lordy. God.
Yes.
Father.
Yes.
What am I doing wrong?
I don't know.
Is it because I don't have a script?
Probably yes. No, that is something I found with unscripted video. So there's a million takes, and eventually you'll get one right, and then you'll just be like, "There, we got it."
Can the next one be the one I get right?
Yes, it can be.
That's the tea.